Citizen Kane was...
Citizen Kane would have a way better movie if he had the glaive.
You would have to call it Citizen Glaive.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
I know that, Mr. Man. They also call them cereals. I'm not stupid, you know.
The story is ludicrous. You can imagine where it goes from here.
Fixes the cable.
On a distant planet, a great kingdom was ravaged by beings who came from the future. The only survivors follow a doubtful seer and a throneless king.
They will hold her in the Black Fortress. You must have help.
Thieves, bandits, fighters, and brawlers.
The kind of men I need.
Well, you heard him. We are now an army.
They must fight an invincible enemy.
I shall be your king.
What is about to happen to them could never have happened on Earth. KRULL.
I saw it at the drive-in
Nice.
in 1983.
That's always my favorite way to start a sentence.
Yeah.
Saw it at the drive-in.
My memory's a little hazy, as we used to sneak into the drive-in with some beer and some weed. We used to put one guy in the trunk, and then one guy would lay on the floor in the back seat, and we put a blanket over him, and I'd drive in by myself. Yeah, we saved $8.
Who goes to the drive-in by themselves?
Exactly.
They probably thought you were like a
Crazy
serial
person.
masturbator or something.
Yeah, well, is that a thing?
Serial masturbator?
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of serial, my memories of KRULL, I was, 83. God, I must have been 7, 8 years old. It falls into a category of movies that were advertised on the back of Shreddies boxes.
Really? They did
When
that
I was a
back
kid,
then?
yep. Yeah, and there's about 5 or 6 movies, including KRULL, that I remember specifically because I would get up to go to school, I would eat my Shreddies, and I would look and just
Marvel at
and I never
KRULL.
got to go to see the goddamn movie.
Well, you're only 8.
Yeah, and my mom wouldn't let me go because it was too scary.
Especially the drive-in.
Drive-in.
Especially the drive-in with someone like me.
With you by the serial
I would have been.
masturbator.
I would have been.
and the creep under the blanket.
That's right.
There's no way they knew it. They knew.
They didn't say anything. Cool, but the only thing I remember about it is that creepy old space wizard guy that reaches for the good-looking hero
With the fingers.
With the fingers. That's the only thing I remembered about it before I started watching it last night. Yeah.
That was the only thing you remembered.
That's the only thing. Well, that and the stupid KRULL. Is it a real one?
The glaive.
The
is
glaive,
what,
right?
It's like
The
this.
glaive,
It's like a
the
weird
glaive.
space boomerang.
That's a stupid thing.
It's like a
Yeah.
five-sided
it's like a
star.
ninja throwing star.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
cashed in on the ninja craze.
But it's way too big. It's like uncomfortably big. It looks awkward when you're holding it, and that's.
I also thought Phantasm when I saw that.
That's-
Oh, I
that's
know
that's
it
in the
came up
70s.
way before. I just mean for like the flying object.
Right.
This
movie it takes a lot from a lot of different movies.
I remember newspaper ads for it too. Like I used to little kids staring into the newspaper looking at ads of movies that I
As one
wasn't
does when
old
you're a
enough to
little
go
kid.
to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
KRULL, I remember the ad for that. I remember Shreddies doing promotions for movies like The
Never
Black
liked
Hole,
Shreddies.
Clash of the Titans.
Oh, they're all terrible
There was
movies.
a big re-release of Peter Pan though, because I remember there was this trippy, kind of toy thingy, visual thing that had Captain Hook on it or whatever.
I got the impression that what they had was a pretty good fantasy movie, but because Star Wars was so fucking popular, they shoehorned in a bunch of sci-fi elements.
Yeah.
Because essentially the story is the hero's journey, and for some reason, the big baddie is an alien, even though that doesn't really have anything to do with the plot.
It's funny because when the memory I have, I thought it was more of a space opera. I thought it would take place in outer space. I thought there was like space fighting and stuff, but it doesn't. It all takes place on one planet.
Yeah, a very Earth-like planet,
which looks suspiciously like northern Italy because it's filmed there.
Yeah,
And what's the planet called?
KRULL.
Yeah, that's right.
See, I didn't know. I forgot. I thought the thing that they threw was KRULL.
Yeah.
The glaive.
The glaive, yes.
Or I thought that was the KRULL. So I was calling it the KRULL for 30 years.
This is another one of those movies. So I'm sorry, Alex.
Well, I was about to give you my first thoughts as it started playing, or should
Oh
I
yeah,
do it? Let's
Okay,
hear it.
so
do it.
like,
well, yeah,
so
I
like
mean,
this
right
afternoon.
away. Well, just this afternoon when I watched it, all I know is right away I kept thinking to myself, "Am I watching KRULL or Kull?" I couldn't keep the title straight. I kept thinking,
Kull?
you know, Kull the Conqueror with Kevin Sorbo and Tia Carrere, and it's a '90s. It was actually filmed as a Kevin Sorbo movie, co-starring post Wayne's World Tia Carrere, when they were just kind of bouncing her around a lot of stereotypical roles like Rise
Like a
of the Sun
basketball.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
She showed up in this fantasy movie, and it's very much a Conan ripoff. It
Conan
came out
O'Brien?
later. No, yeah, I'll tell you, kicked Arsenio's ass, but no. It's called Call the Conqueror, and it's actually...
Should we watch that one?
It's an unused script. It was supposed to be Conan 3.
Oh, really?
Oh!
I'm not joking, and Conan 3 would have been filmed right around the same time as Krull, and ever since I've always confused the two titles. Krull is from, it was released in the mid-90s, but it was... I knew.
Just name
I wasn't thinking to myself, I'm watching that movie with Kevin Sorbo and Tia Carrere.
Right.
But I was thinking to myself, is this Cull or Krull?
No, you're watching a movie with Ken
flipping
Marshall and
my
Liam
ADD.
Neeson.
It was like a little badminton match right away, and
So
one side was Cull, one side was Krull.
So you're a grown man watching Krull.
Yeah.
Now I imagine.
we all were
now in 1983 there must have been grown-ups. I don't know because I was a kid.
I was almost a grown-up. I was 18.
Well,
is that a grown-up?
You were a slacker, is what you were.
Yeah, I was.
You didn't. If you were a grown-up, you would have paid for everyone at the drive-in. That's like a responsible drive-in attendant.
No, that was bad news in 1983. I don't want to talk about that.
Question. Okay, I'm just about to ask you. Did you like it, Alex?
Well, you know what? Now I'm sitting down here with you guys. I'm kind of. We're actually sitting down and talking about it. I'm kind of maybe appreciating the fact that I wouldn't say it grew on me.
You're kind of loving it right now,
but
right?
more or less.
After we talk about it, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe I'll fall in love with it. But I don't know if I liked it or not. To be honest, I really found it hard not to daydream during movies, and that's always it's sometimes a pretty bad sign when it happens to me. I take it movie watching seriously. I was daydreaming nonstop.
Did you have your pants on?
Yeah, okay. I was fully clothed.
Okay,
I was wearing shorts.
Oh well, okay. Short pants. It was a hot day the other day.
It was a hot day. I was still wearing shorts, but I didn't really like it at all, and I really found it hard to even pay attention to.
This movie strikes me as something that you might have liked if you hadn't seen. Well, you already mentioned a movie that ripped it off. So
which movie?
Cull.
I didn't say I ripped it off.
I
just confused the titles.
Okay. Anyways, my point is,
it's like Bad Boy Bubby or the Bad News Bears.
They're similar.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's a ripoff, but it didn't help the fact that it has the rhyming title.
It just sounded similar.
Put it this way, it'd be easier to not confuse it with Cull if Cull was like a lawyer drama or something, a courtroom drama. But the fact that there was a movie Cull that was also fantasy. Jesus, I don't even know if I've seen the full Cull, for Christ's sakes. I think there used to be this bargain basement cinema in Montreal when I lived there. It was legendary, the Palace. It was great. It was $5 movies. It was an old school multiplex. And the only time I've ever seen even a chunk of Cull, the Sorbo film, was I was going to see another movie and I got mixed up and I walked in and I watched a bit of it because it happened to be on the screen. I stood there to watch. Yeah. Because by accident I watched a little scene of it.
So is that
I'm not going to lie, and it had more to do with Tia Carrere than Kevin Sorbo.
Krull, though, the actual movie that we're supposed to be talking about. We are talking about the movie. Okay, Alex, you did not care for it. That's your first impression. Yeah. And Darren, you remember liking it quite a bit when you were at the...
I did, yeah. When I was an impressionable, drunk, stoned guy in the dark in my car.
I love the art direction.
Mm-hmm.
I love the cinematography, the costumes.
Mm-hmm. The costumes are great.
I loved everything about this movie until somebody started talking. It was some of the worst dialogue that I've ever heard.
The thing is, it wasn't. The thing is, it was terrible, but it wasn't bad enough to be fun and campy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like this movie for me was trying to take itself a little too seriously.
Yeah,
and it wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't enjoyable on the level of being too serious. It wasn't enjoyable on the level of being campy and fun.
Everything in this movie took twice as long as it had to.
Way too long.
Every joke went on too long. Every action scene, and I put quotes around action because this is some of the most boring action I've ever seen in a movie.
The worst fighting I've seen in a movie, maybe ever. Ever.
Every scene, when he's climbing the mountain, it goes on way too long.
Actually, I love the mountain climbing scene. It was so absurd.
Yeah, the mountain climbing scene was kind of neat, and in fact, that mountain climbing scene came back like what's the weapon called?
The Krull.
It jumped out at me. One of the moments that really jumped out at me was during the closing credits. Sorry, I'm jumping way ahead here.
Okay.
I just sort of I was seeing if I recognized any names of people who went on to something bigger besides like Liam Neeson and stuff. But the name that jumped out at me when you see who did the stunt climbing, his name is Lorenzo Lorenzi.
Yeah.
It's the best name I've ever...
Yeah, I know. I said the same thing. What a great name.
That was the one note I actually physically wrote.
I think he might have been Italian.
Lorenzo Lorenzi. Yeah, I thought it was
possibly.
That has nothing to do with the plot or anything, but hats off to Lorenzo.
So great climbing.
Lorenzo,
Okay, so you're saying this looks tacky. It looks like a cheap knockoff, like a Mel Brooks spoof.
And then,
Do
like,
either of you know what the actual budget of this movie was?
I'm
sure it was big.
Oh, I'm going to say $4,000. No. At least $4,000.
It's a bit more than. Well, you're right about the four.
Right.
$4 million. You guys want to hazard a guess?
$4 trillion.
So you're $4 million? Is that an actual?
I'll go $4 million.
Okay, Alex, how much do you think this cost?
Over 10 million for sure. Between 10 and 20.
You're never going to believe me.
I will believe you.
$40 million.
40?
In 1983.
Yeah. So in 1983 dollars, that would be like $400 billion.
Yeah, something
money,
like
right?
that. So this movie cost $40 million. Is this not state of the art in 1983?
What did they spend it on?
Well, they definitely aimed for the old school homages, like with the set design and things like that. And I know, like, there's even a scene where they're on horses with rear projection.
I know it was so like,
and the spider scene, which we're about to get to, which had this Ray Harryhausen ambition to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know they were striving for that, but I thought that it looked like shit.
Okay,
the movie, and it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark, the same era, paid homage to those serials. But they did it in a more kind of naturalistic, updated way. But it was the feeling was there, the spirit was there. But this movie, any audience in '83, I expect a lot of people were laughing at it, not even realizing what it was tipping its hat to.
Well, you were too busy masturbating.
That's right.
I don't know. I thought though, but I did recognize what it was aiming for. But I just thought
it cost $40 million, made back $16 million. So
really, 1.6?
It took like what, a $22 million hit.
Wow. That's terrible math.
It's 22.
24.
Sorry, we should get back to the plot.
Right.
Yeah.
It starts with a voiceover.
Yeah.
Saying, I think it was like, this was given to me in the blah, blah, blah.
Made no sense.
As soon as he started talking, it's so pretentious.
It was given me to know that many worlds have been enslaved by the beast and his army. And this too was given me to know, that the beast would come to the world of KRULL, and his black fortress would be seen in the land. But one thing I cannot know, whether the prophecy be true.
It was given to me to know.
Yes.
There's a planet called KRULL.
Yes, I made a movie to tell you about it.
For some reason, it is, and you never find out who this fucking person is.
No, it's not anybody.
Because you think, I bet you it's the old man. No, he has a different voice.
Yeah.
So we see a great big spaceship drift into this planet KRULL.
Just plunk itself down.
I thought the effects were pretty good. It plunks itself down, and then we find out that the inhabitants of the spaceship are being assholes. Yeah. They're running around all over KRULL.
Like lizard. I don't know sure what they were. Bug things that were, for some reason, they made themselves the same size as everybody else and wore like some costumes and walked really slowly.
And the costumes didn't seem to protect them at all. Like it was even worse than stormtrooper armor.
Well,
they kind of melted and suffered with this stuff. They didn't just fall over. It's almost like when I was a little kid, I thought stormtroopers were like robots that were malfunctioning when they got shot. But this movie, they're like, they're suffering and making weird.
Well, yeah, they turn into weird little animals.
The thing is, that the opening scene of them, they're just standing there. They have their spears and they're just shooting them like cheering into the air, just going,
yeah, we're assholes.
Look at me. Not doing anything. Who does that? They shoot one laser out of their long sticks, which is totally unfair because the other guys just have swords and shit. Well, all of a sudden they can only do it once, and then they got to fight with it.
At no point did I think that these people had taken over this planet.
No, because people just ride around on horses and stuff. They're getting together for a wedding or having.
But they're always in small groups. Like you never see. So the spaceship lands. And you're supposed to believe that this planet KRULL is now enslaved by by the beast, who's the main baddie, and he's got all these minions. You never see more than 10 at once. Yeah. Like you never see this huge fucking army taking over the planet.
Well, that's what when I was watching that, and there's a scene when they're all riding toward to take there's a wedding where the two warring factions on the planet are there. There's a wedding between the two houses.
Well, why don't we get to that?
To join to fight the bad guys.
So that's the next scene. So. Yeah. There is a wedding of the two major
the hero
KRULL armies,
the princess heroine, I guess,
and they're always fighting. So these two warring factions on planet KRULL, who usually hate each other, now have to band together to fight these 20 or 30 bad guys.
The houses are brought together by a marriage, like they are in Game of Thrones or whatever, all that kind of stuff. But and then the big army is supposed to come and attack them, and they show it's like a still cameras that they're riding by the camera. And there's maybe like 8 of them.
I'm telling you, they never had more than 20 of these guys.
Here's the other thing too. Correct me if I'm wrong. These are 2 warring sides that hate one another and don't communicate.
Yeah.
Like, how did the son and daughter fall?
How did they even meet?
How did they even meet?
Oh,
maybe she got to select. She heard he was handsome.
They never felt. No, it was a marriage of convenience for sure.
But
but when they meet up in the beginning, they're totally in love. It's not just oh, hey, I'm meeting
you know
you for
why?
the first
Because
time.
they're the both best-looking people in the whole planet.
Yeah, they are. But I mean, it's not like when they meet up.
In fact, the only good-looking people on the
only
planet.
good-looking.
There's only 2 good-looking people on this entire fucking planet. Of course, they're gonna be boning.
There are, but I mean, they meet for the first time, and it's like they've known each other.
They didn't even
for
get the
years.
bone.
Okay, see that confused me because okay, so
it was like Romeo and Juliet bullshit going on, but these 2 would never have met.
But then there's also the voiceover. The voiceover comes in and says, "It is on me to tell you that
as I don't know, it is given to me.
These douchebags are gonna come and he's gonna fuck her and their child will rule the galaxy." So now they're bringing in Dune because it's like apparently this.
I thought of Dune. I saw the movie, which I thought sucked, and I tried to read the book. I made it about like 15 pages in, and I couldn't make it anymore. But it totally reminded me of Dune.
Dune is great.
Because this movie, by the way, what's the source material? Did any of us actually bother to look? Is this based on some kind of novel? Or
I don't
something?
think so.
I don't know.
Because for me, there were really what struck me as was kind of like movie by committee, like a piece of high concept junk of the art, where it's like, I want to open a shot like Star Wars. Like I picture like all these producers yelling at ideas and like, oh yeah, well I like those old series where there's quicksand because there's that quicksand. Like if Carol Burnett's show was doing a parody.
So there's this wedding. So these 2 families hate each other. They've been fighting for generations, and now one dude just happens to have a super hot son, and then the other dude just happens to have a super hot daughter.
They both had great hair.
They did. So now, the interesting thing, the woman who played, I don't know her name, just Princess, I guess we can call her.
Well, I don't know her name either.
She reminded me of Cynthia Dale, though, from Canada.
I can see that.
You know,
the one who's married to Peter Mansbridge. He married her eventually, I think.
Really?
You know who I thought it was, even though there's no chance this would have been her?
Bernadette Peters.
No, but good guess.
Thanks.
I'm like, oh, it's Kate Bush.
Kate Bush could give an incredible performance in a movie. Okay.
Sure, yeah, she could be the next Mariah Carey.
Anyway.
Good-looking dude who looks like, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name. Who's the star of Guardians of the Galaxy?
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
I thought he looked a little more like Andrew Stevens. Remember Andrew Stevens from like the Fury?
Well,
and,
no.
The actor Ken Marshall.
He didn't remind me of that at all. You know who he reminded me of? I totally thought Greg Evigan, a.k.a. BJ and the Bear. At the time, the Trucker series. He was later on My Two Dads.
Oh yeah, he was the bearded
I saw
dad.
Greg Evigan in there. He was in the 70s Trucker series.
Was that the dads? With the dads of My Two Dads, were they gay?
They were not. No.
Why not?
Okay, so there's
Paul.
a wedding. There's a wedding between good-looking Colwyn and the hot redhead who looks like Kate Bush.
Kate Bush.
We're just going to call her Kate Bush for the remainder of the podcast.
For me.
Cynthia Dale, whatever. So the listeners all know. Interesting fact, that's not her real voice.
Oh, was she overdubbed afterwards?
She was overdubbed. She's English.
And there's a lot of that in the movie. You could totally tell.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
But you've got this like 21-year-old beautiful red-headed vixen goddess, and they went and got like a 47-year-old actress from the United States because they were trying to sell it in the States. So they're like, oh, Americans won't accept a beautiful woman if she's not American.
That was also a thing, especially with the Italian productions back then, because there was usually an international cast. If you ever watched some old like Giallos and stuff, almost all the voices are overdubbed because they all speak different languages, so they just all overdub them later in post. So it's
the original spaghetti westerns too.
Yeah.
So they get married, they're getting hitched, and they do and this is actually I really liked the marriage ceremony that they came up with.
I kind of forgot. I watched it last night and I already forgot what happened.
Okay, well, it has to do with fire and water. Where he takes a torch and he puts it in the water. She puts her hand in the water and her hand comes out on fire. So I'm like, so that establishes that these people are capable of
carrying fire in their hands.
Well, which like later in the movie, I wondered how it was he could plunge his hand into. Does come in handy.
Yes.
But when he's getting the glaive, it's in lava.
I wrote that down. Like I was like, what the fuck?
Well, because they're good with they're good with setting their hands on fire.
Yeah, exactly. Comes full circle.
It was so disappointing at the end when spoiler he kills the baddie.
Well, that's not a spoiler.
He uses his fire hand to kill the big bad.
Yeah.
And then he looks at her and his hand is on fire. And I was like, oh, please turn to your hand and just blow it out. Like,
or caress her until her hair on fire.
That's not actually how he kills the baddie, though. He teams up with her together. Remember, it's their love. It's this whole love versus hate.
But that's why I bring it up. That it's actually, and I think that is a well-written element of this film. It's consistent. They demonstrate that this is important to these two people. This is why they're getting married, and it actually does save the planet in the end.
Right.
But before they can go off and be married and have this kid that's going to take over the galaxy, hopefully he's a benevolent baby. All of a sudden,
she gets
11 more of these guys
who shoot one laser out of their riding crops or whatever they have, and then they fight, and the worst fighting ever.
By the way,
so slow
did you not think that the bad guys were dressed like Turbo Kid?
Well, I was trying to me that when I first saw them, the costume, one of the good guys in their costumes looked like giant lobsters to me. And I was trying to think of what their costumes reminded me of. But no, Turbo Kid,
because basically Turbo Kid is just wearing like
a helmet, BMX helmet.
He's wearing helmet, but he's also wearing like some kind of plastic protective gear.
Right. I thought the costumes were great.
Lacrosse players. The villains looked like they were on their way to a lacrosse match.
The lacrosse sticks gave it away. That was the thing.
In fact, it's weird that they're so easy to kill because, honestly, their knees are covered. So if they fall on their knees,
well, you have to hit them in the head. Or stab them right in the ribs.
Do any of them get killed when they invade the wedding?
One or two, because the hero guy kills a couple, but then the bride's captured, taken away. Yeah. He gets shot in the one place in all movies where you get shot and you're okay. If you get shot in the shoulder, you're fine. You're going to live because everyone else that got shot was killed instantly. But he gets shot in the shoulder, he's fine. Actually, as soon as he wakes up from being shot, he starts doing stuff like this. He's like picking stuff up. It's like, no, dude. Yeah, your shoulder's destroyed.
Yeah. And now he's doing push-ups and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
He rolls down the stairs. And to his credit, I thought Ken Marshall, he did, with the exception of the mountain climbing scene, he did all of his own stunts. So it's actually kind of a big deal for an actor to fall downstairs.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure they're not rubber stairs.
Yeah, they're not. No, they're not.
They didn't have the budget for rubber stairs.
No, they just threw Ken Marshall down those fucking stairs.
All right, that's a take 24, Ken.
Please.
Well, I don't want to do it again.
So then he comes to, and everyone's dead in his castle.
Yeah, except for the one guy.
His father is dead. Oh, his father plays Game of Thrones.
He's in Game of Thrones?
He's in Game of Thrones, and he...
Cersei?
No, he's the whatever that, I can't remember. And the nerd's gonna go nuts. I can't remember the name of this house. The ones who are all salty sailors who live.
Oh, the Iron Island.
Yeah,
guys?
the Iron Islands.
The Iron Sailors. The Iron.
Anyway, so he's like the father who didn't care that his son got his dick cut off. In Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh,
and he was already old in 1983, which
I know.
It was impressive.
Yeah, because that's like 45, 60 years ago.
These English guys, they drink so much, they stay alive forever.
After the wedding assault and they capture the bride, this is the first time I checked to see how much time was left in the movie.
Really?
Yeah. I was I clicked my thing. I was like, I'm only 16 minutes in? This movie's 2 fucking hours long.
Yeah.
And by the
how
way,
are they going to make this?
I know, and it made me think of The Red Wedding.
Oh, did it?
Not in the terms of its quality or
the
way Game of Thrones pulled, not at all, but it had that serious.
Yeah.
Just again another Game of Thrones.
So now I guess I missed it. So some old dude shows up. Are you going to eat that milk bone?
I'm not going to eat that milk bone.
They have milk bones at the shop that we give out to dogs. By the way,
customers.
I've heard they're good.
We should put that shit in a Tupperware container at night
because of the rats. Because of the rats.
Yes,
that's probably a good call.
Oh yeah, the fridge. That'll do.
And then we can chill them up. For the
dogs. So we're doing a podcast. So some old dude shows up, and I have no idea.
Going to come right now and eat it.
There was a big massacre, and Buddy wakes up. King Buddy wakes up, and he's like, oh, my dad is dead.
Oh no, he starts whining right off the bat. He's
whining.
He's like whining and crying, laying on the steps.
Yeah, what a pussy, right? And then some old guy shows up.
Well, he's known as the old man. The old one.
Is that what his name was?
Yes. Well,
but there was an older person in the movie.
I know. Well, the funny thing is that the old guy, he looks younger than me. Like he looks like he's like 40, and he's like the old man that lives in the mountain. The old one.
He shows up and scolds.
He totally scolds him.
Okay, no. He scolds him. He scolds him
in the way we're thinking of. You know?
Yeah, no, great. But where the fuck did he come from is what I'm trying to figure out.
Me too.
Okay, so I wasn't alone in that? Because I thought maybe I looked at my phone or something.
They showed him earlier. When all the bad guys were rushing to the wedding, he was in the woods. And he turns the camera to show his face to let him know that.
Oh, I missed that.
That's when he was introduced. So it was about 5 minutes before.
So he shows up after the post massacre, and conveniently, the man who would be king is the only one left living.
Yeah, and
seems to me he'd be the first one you behead and burn, just make sure that he's dead.
Of course. That doesn't make it. Yeah, leave that guy alive.
Yeah,
but I guess they figured they shot him in the shoulder and then it killed him.
No, I got him in the shoulder. No one survives that.
It's funny because I believe the old man said, "You are the king," and he says to him, "Am I that man?" Yes. I just told you were that man.
Me?
Yes, in his whiny little voice.
Yeah, I came to find a king, but I found a boy instead. He says something like that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and he goes to leave, and then and then King Wino,
King Whiny Pants,
King, it's like, wait for me, and so they go off and embark on an adventure. Turns out the old man knows where Kate Bush has been taken.
Yes. Well, and then it's introduced that the giant flying rock every morning moves mysteriously.
Yeah,
to another part of the planet.
Which I really like that.
But why didn't it just do that to get to the planet? Instead of like slowly, laboriously going through space. Why don't you just like appear on the planet?
Well, maybe it did. Maybe it appeared.
No, because they should go.
Well, okay, so
really
the very beginning, you got this, you see a planet, and you see this big old spaceship start to lumber into view.
Mm.
For all you know, it just appeared behind the camera.
But why did it just appear? But no, you can't assume that.
Well, you also can't assume where mountains are going to be or where the weather's going to be on a planet.
I don't think the big rock spaceship's worried about the weather.
Well, no, but
well,
to quote Han Solo, if I don't do the
was he in this movie?
No, I'm surprised though because they ripped everything else off from Star Wars. No, in the first Star Wars, Han Solo says if I don't do the right calculations before the jump into light speed, we could wind up in the middle of a star, and that would end our trip real quick.
That would be cool if that happened in the movie.
Wouldn't it be amazing if a Millennium Falcon just light speeded into a fucking... Anyways, so I'm assuming the spaceship probably was going a lot faster, and then it slowed down when it approached the planet, and then it surveyed and goes, that's a good spot to land, and then it landed... Right. Because if it's going to teleport, it might teleport into a fucking lava mountain or some shit like that.
I don't think
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there.
So, turns out the old man knows how he knows. Oh, okay.
Because he's the old man from the mountain.
So I'm confused about the chronology of when this fucking spaceship arrived on planet KRULL.
Because to me, it seemed like it'd been there for a long time before the wedding.
See, that's
at least maybe a year or two. Maybe.
Well, they suggested that, but the feeling I got was it like maybe a year
or yesterday.
But this old man was talking like they'd been there for centuries.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean.
Well, how long does it take to take over a planet then? Well, maybe with 8 guys
on horseback,
and with only 8 guys.
And what? Yeah, if you can teleport a fucking like West Edmonton Mall-sized monument anywhere you want,
including roller coaster,
why are you sending people out on horseback?
Yeah,
go on horses and kill them.
Did they bring the horses with them? Did they have horses where they came, or did they just take some horses? What are these giant beasts that are roaming? Maybe we should ride those things.
Why?
And my question is, because the little lizard things or bug things that were the actual aliens, when you killed them, they jumped out and for some reason burned into the ground. Why wouldn't they make themselves huge instead of making themselves the same size of everybody else?
It's true, yeah.
Maybe the...
I didn't even think of that part.
Might as well grab me one, too.
Me too, please.
Maybe the stormtroopers were... You having a red one?
I'll have an IPA.
An IPA? Alex, what are you having?
IPA.
What am I drinking?
Whatever there is.
Oh, I guess I've already burned through my pale ale.
Anyways, so the first quest... As they're trying to track down the giant flying mountain, the old man sends Haircut King Ken Nielsen,
Ken Marshall,
to the top of a mountain to retrieve the KRULL, not the KRULL, the glaive, the glaive. But to me that was one of my favorite scenes because. He's supposed to be concerned that his girlfriend has been taken by the bad guys, but he's so happy about everything. He's always smiling. He's always smiling. He's always happy.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that bugged me most about this movie is like he smiles the whole goddamn
where's your
movie.
concern? And then like what? There's no urgency to go save her. He has to climb a mountain. He's totally ill prepared for this climb.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he's been shot through the shoulder.
Yeah.
And and it's a huge mountain.
No hiking gear.
No, and he has no experience climbing a mountain, as far as I can tell.
It did make me laugh because he kept climbing and climbing, and after about 5 shots of him climbing from different angles. Least threatening rock slide in film history.
All these tiny little rocks come out of him. He's just kind of dodging them, and then it just stops. And still has the ominous music, though.
And why is the music ominous? It's just gravity.
Where'd the rocks even come from? Was it the glaive that was saying, no, you can't have my glaive?
But there's the total Excalibur pretension there.
Yeah, there is. It totally is.
Getting because the mystical weapon from the liquid, you know.
And nobody else could get it.
Yeah, no one else could get it.
But he got there. And it was...
Well, no, but anybody could have. Any rock climber could have gotten that glaive.
But because it was in the lab or
he seemed to establish he can handle the flame.
But the thing is, it was so easy to find. As soon as he walks into the crevice, it's right there.
I also thought Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of crap. Like, really, like, go out and explore a cave like that Indiana Jones guy. Like, I was patchwork of random scenes thrown out by committee.
I like the way the cave looked. Like, and this is why I can't dislike this movie. I was like, old school dry ice smoke and red goo. And
also the scenes of him going up the mountain. The mountains are beautiful. Like that there's there's some shots like they're really long shots. You can see this little guy walking across this ridge. It's amazing looking. And it's beautiful. Like to me that just raised the movie up above.
The production quality was solid. I thought.
You know, there are some nice outdoor shots and stuff. And I didn't look up who shot this film. I'm sure it was like a Peter Yates. Would only use the best cinematographer, but I didn't find anything particularly special about it. The only thing I loved about those outdoor shots is the fact that they were performed by a guy named Lorenzo Lorenzi. That's, for me, the big even payback of those ridiculous scenes.
I really thought this was a beautiful looking movie. So now, so he plunges his hand into the lava, and it's like, he has the fire hand ability. And
that's a pretty good ability.
He pulls the glaive out. Oh yeah, man! You could work in a glass blower.
Yeah. You could you could work in like a pizza oven.
Yeah, you just reach in without a glove. The money you'd save on gloves.
Yeah, here's your pizza.
Yeah. So he gets the glaive, and it's kind of encrusted in rock, and then there's this shot where like the rock falls off, and there's the golden glaive, and it's like whoa, and it's kind of great.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this thing is gonna be a really big deal when he needs to use it.
Actually, when he grabs the glaive, my favorite part is what if he was holding it like this, or like with his fist around the end.
Yeah.
And because he's holding it, all of a sudden the blades shoot out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's going right through his palm.
Well,
how did he know how to hold it?
He's been shot through the shoulder.
Yeah, but it was just like
it didn't open up until it was in the right position. Maybe it knew instinctually.
But
no,
and to me that was a little throwback to Alien because it looked like a Geiger kind of thing because it looked like little bones. It kind of looked like the alien, possibly in the Alien universe to me.
For me, I thought
maybe.
And I just want to say one thing about these outdoor shots. You guys keep saying
gushing about.
Well, here's the thing.
Coming all over.
They're spending that kind of money. This movie would have cost way less.
Is that too much?
Is it much?
Is that too much?
So much of it were those indoor, like the fake outdoor sets. Like the inside of caverns and stuff were shitty
shot
looking.
At Pinewood Studios.
So shitty looking. I like the fact that they were paying homage to like the old serials.
I love those sets.
I thought it looked like shit, and I thought if they're filming out in fields and stuff anyway, they may as well actually film these in real locations.
I completely disagree. Yeah. The moment when I realized that I really, really like this movie, despite the problems with the script. And like that really is the problem, is the fucking script.
Yeah.
There's a shot where, and I guess actually this will be the next scene. So plot wise, we now see what's been going on. Oh yeah, okay. So Johnny, the grinning idiot king, climbs back down the mountain. He's like, I got the glaive.
He hasn't even broken a sweat.
Yeah.
He just climbed up and down the mountain. He hasn't broken a sweat. His hair is perfect.
So then the old man says, okay, well, I can take you to the Dark Tower. What the fuck was it called?
No, I think it's a different movie.
The Dark, whatever.
The Dark Bathroom. I think
yes.
That's where I'm headed.
Where the bad guy lives. So then it cuts to. Actually, I'm gonna wait for Alex because
I can hear you.
Okay, so it's where you first see Kate Bush is now in the evil.
Right, and she's in an eye, a giant eye.
It pulls back and she's inside a giant eyeball.
Looks so cool.
And there's this awesome voiceover of the big baddie.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Say what you will about this movie. They didn't phone it in. I
mean,
they're
that's the thing. They're trying hard.
Yeah, the production design was great.
Yeah.
It's just the script kind of sucked.
All those $4 million are up on the screen.
All of that shit where they were inside the evil the demon condo or whatever the fuck it was. Like she's wearing this beautiful white dress and her hair is gorgeous and
perfect.
red and flowing.
She had just washed it.
You know what I mean? Like she's trapped in this, and walls are closing behind her. I mean,
it looked really cool.
It looked great.
Almost like kind of like almost sexual sometimes. The way it was kind of like flesh.
I thought it was like the inside of a seashell.
I thought it was inside of a vagina.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
But anyways. There is, I don't know what movie came out first. I'm assuming Conan the Barbarian came out before this.
It was the year before, 1982.
Because it looked, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was the same people, but they certainly tore a page out of the set design for Conan the Barbarian, because it had that sort of surreal, organic. And that's why I say, like, when I say I'm gushing over these shots, I mean I really am, because like if you turn the volume down on this movie and put on a good album,
Pink Floyd, maybe The Wall, or maybe
not
Dark Side of the Moon.
The Dark Side would do, but it's not long enough. It's only 43 minutes.
That's right.
You want like okay,
Some
computer.
Grateful Dead.
You're gonna hate me for bringing this up, but you brought up Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah,
I read a lot of the Conan comics when I was a kid, but they were only solo editions. They always advertise special editions in the back of Conan. Like, see him in this other adventure. He had a sidekick in comics named Kull.
Oh, Jesus. Again with your fucking Kull.
Hey, well, you just mentioned a connection to Conan. If you can't tell me, I'm starting to think more and more now.
Look,
those guys were like, we need a name for this galaxy, and one of them saw like a Conan comic, and it's like they didn't want to call it like Cronan because it would be too much of a ripoff. But they see Kull as this secondary character, and it's like,
oh, this movie is entirely ripoff. Right down to every time they have a sword fight. For some reason, there's pink and blue sparks coming when a sword hits a good guy's sword hits a bad guy's axe, and I'm like, okay, well, they're just going for lightsabers on that shit. Yeah. You've got the old, and the hero's journey is obviously predates Star Wars by centuries, but this is more or less the same. He is basically Luke Skywalker because he's a whiny little shit. His family gets killed. He meets some old guy. He rescues a princess.
It's totally Star Wars.
Yeah. But I don't mind that.
So they move along. They're hanging out at a watering hole, and this big red light crashes into the water.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
And it turns into like a foppish British
a
magician or something like that.
A shapeshifter.
And this was the second time I checked to see how much time was left in the movie.
And his name was Ergo the Magnificent.
Yeah.
And for the rest of this podcast, I'm going to refer to him as Steve Coogan.
Yes.
Because I could not stop thinking of Steve Coogan.
Yeah. No, I thought it was like David Warner's kid.
Okay, yeah, so they're by this lake. They've got the glaive, and get hit by a meteor. Lands in the water. They never tell you where he's coming from.
And neither Andrew Stevens or old man, young man guy, they're nonplussed that this guy crashed into the water in a light, turned into a douchey British guy, and starts telling jokes. Yeah, and then he turns himself into a talking goose. He actually rubbed my head and my eyes. The goose started talking. Did you notice that later on in the movie, whenever he turned into other animals, they didn't talk? They dropped that right off the bat.
They did. And the other thing, too, is the transformations look so shitty by the time he was turned into a tiger later. They didn't do a transformation. They just did a quick cut, and suddenly he's a tiger. They didn't want to. They were like, all right, that effect is not working.
Or the
producer said, cut it, and,
Or they ran out of money.
See, this is, by this point in the movie, what I thought, citing Peter Yates' excellent work on other movies and stuff, I was thinking to myself, it's a very sincere Peter Yates. He's getting to direct a fantasy, but people are shouting ideas at him randomly. Stuff's being added just randomly.
Was he old? He's going, what? Okay.
Well, I just mean, executives adding shit onto the script. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily as they filmed it, but in a way, early on, that when the film actually got made, it just literally feels like such a patchwork.
And but at the same time, that's kind of why I thought maybe it was based on a series of novels or something, because I was like, well, maybe you're supposed to be a fan of the existing KRULL books or comics
to appreciate.
So you know who this fucking weirdo is, like, because out of nowhere.
I don't think so. I think it was just all kind of original mishmash.
But okay, so to the listener at home, this meteorite crashes into a lake they're standing next to.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it was a person, and he starts jumping around, going like, "I'm drowning," even though he's only in the very small amount of water.
He's up to his knees.
And that's supposed to be funny. And he takes his boots off, and water comes out.
And the guys just walk away from him.
Yeah, they're just like, whatever. And then he's like, "Don't walk away from me, because I'm this magician, and I'll turn you into a fucking goose."
I'll turn you into.
And then he turns himself into a goose accidentally, and then he waddles around, and then he
says something that's unintelligible.
It's like the goose from those commercials with Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh,
like that's
Affleck,
how bad the.
Actually, I wish it was the Affleck goose.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I'm on KRULL. Anyways,
that's a pretty good Gilbert Gottfried. I thought he was actually here.
It's my first impression.
Yeah, really.
He's like, I'm this Ergo the Magnificent, and fuck you guys because you're not respecting me.
Ergo, Argo, Fargo.
Fargo, yeah.
Probably confused the hell out of you, didn't
you? Yeah, did you get confused, Alex? Anyways, so then Ergo's like, you know what? Fuck you, I'm out of here. And he starts starts walking through the forest, and he sees, now how did I write it down? Ergo sees a leftover Cyclops from Clash of the Titans. And I didn't realize that the Cyclops was going to be a part of the movie. I just thought it was this thing. And I'm like, oh, they had a leftover Cyclops from Clash of the Titans. Yeah. Just stand as this tree. We'll just cut it in. Okay, I know it was 83, and that was probably the height of... But that is like the goofiest looking, not scary...
Cyclops.
When he appeared on the screen, I wrote down... Oh, there's a sad, well-dressed Cyclops.
Sad, well-dressed?
I wouldn't run in fear. I'd be like, are you okay? Do you need some help?
Yeah, exactly. Because you know why? Because he's a freak. He's abnormal looking. It's like, whoa. And then he passes out later when he sees him, too.
Oh, yeah. Every time he sees this Cyclops, he has a fit, or he shits his pants.
Yeah, but you know they're going to become good friends because there's a little arc there.
Well, I didn't know he was even going to be in the movie again. I just thought it was meant to be this little, non sequitur, look at the Cyclops. And then it turns out the Cyclops is a major part of the movie. Yeah. And every time I'm looking at this guy,
and he's always there to save the day with his giant spear that he hucks.
I felt so bad for the actor because I guess he can't see anything.
But the explanation for the Cyclops was ridiculous.
It was ludicrous.
They traded one of their eyes for their well-dressed suits, or
no? It was so the dark one. You know, again, we have no idea when this fucking spaceship landed on this planet.
It's either yesterday or 1,000
years ago. Yeah. Who knows? They were like regular people with two eyes, and they did a deal with the Dark Lord.
Deal with the devil.
So that they would lose one eye, but they would gain a vision of the future.
Right, but the only future they could see was their own death. And I guess they gained some height too because he's a very big guy.
He's a big dude.
He's a large.
Wow. He's actually in the Carry On movies. I looked up that actor.
Was he a Cyclops in those?
He's an actual Cyclops.
Wow, an actual Cyclops.
Yeah, in Carry On,
they're very hard to find.
In Carry On, Blinking. It's hilarious.
That guy dominated the casting calls for Cyclops.
Well, he's a big dude. He died shortly after of a heart attack.
Right. Was that his apex?
Here's the funny thing. You guys,
he saw his death.
I remember.
His name is Bernard Bresslaw, and he was like a vaudeville performer.
He's got a Marty Feldman thing going on.
And he was
not that extreme.
He was in Jabberwocky.
They're carrying on, and they run into a bunch of bandits, which is like the lamest. They're the lamest bandits. They are. Although I swear that the main head bandit, the singer for what did I write this down? The Scorpions. He's a singer for the Scorpions, right? Like that guy.
You remind me of Stan Ridgway, Wall of Voodoo,
and the neck, spiky neck.
This is where again an idea being shot at. I picture the movie being written in some Another executive being like, I want to look at like an 80s music video, man. That Scorpions one.
I love the Scorpions.
People are yelling out ideas, man. That's what I meant. They're just kind of throwing.
Well, and this is the
it's like
gang
a conveyor belt going among a committee of people, and they're just throwing their stuff.
Exactly.
I want a quicksand scene. I want a side.
They did not need to be bandits at all.
They were escaped convicts or something because they're all still in shackles.
Still had the shackles.
And then there's a young guy who volunteers to go with them. He's the ugliest looking kid I've ever seen in a movie ever.
I know it. Yeah.
Holy shit!
He reminded me of young Lucas Haas a bit. It was like they couldn't afford Lucas Haas.
So they got
they couldn't afford him, so
his
they
ugly
got
troll brother.
Well, I wouldn't call the kid an
total ugly
I think that's
troll.
a little extreme. It's like they couldn't.
I hope he's not
Lucas
listening
Haas.
now. I hope he's dead, so he can't hear me call him an ugly troll.
He's dead.
No, I don't hope he's dead. I hope he's dead.
That
he's not. Yeah.
But the bandits give up banditing immediately.
Immediately.
In fact, it's like there's like 3 of them. By the way, the Cyclops is not a part of the crew. So you still have you got the old man, who, by the way, I forgot to point this out, is played by Freddie Jones,
Freddie Jones. That's right. Yeah.
From The Elephant Man.
Oh.
I love the cast. Most of these performers,
except for Ken.
And I thought he was fine, man. I thought
Ken terrible.
Ken Marshall was fine. He was fine, man. Look what he's got to work with.
He had nice hair. That's the only thing, and he had really nice tight striped pants. I enjoyed those pants. But apart from his hair and his pants,
he was fine.
Every time I saw him on screen, I kept thinking, why wasn't he, given a small? Well, obviously he wasn't given a small part.
He's a handsome guy.
No. The movie was made years later. I'm talking about a totally different movie. I kept imagining him walking alongside James Franco in Your Highness. A movie which so few people have actually seen.
No, I've seen Your Highness.
I haven't seen
the medieval comedy, but
it's
I could
fucking
see.
horrible.
But I can see.
I hate those movies.
That guy, yeah.
Yes,
he
no,
had no charisma for me.
No, and because he
was
the Andrew Stevens of the movie.
I'm gonna answer why he was in this movie.
Always smiling.
You see, when you first
he was a TV star.
What was he on?
BJ and the Bear, man.
No, he was on.
Oh, that's Greg Evigan. We all know that.
Oh, there was a TV miniseries called Marco Polo, and he was.
I remember that.
He was the star. They were clearly going like, well, this guy was like a big deal on Marco Polo show. Let's give him a shot at a movie
that nobody's ever seen.
I've seen
Alex
it.
Has seen
no,
it.
I've seen it. Here's the fucked up thing, right? I almost lost this finger in an accident. I was at home with a pressure bandage. This is the truth. I almost lost this finger in an accident when I was a child. I was home with my mother. And I watched Marco Polo. Jesus, you're jarring my memory here.
So all the bandits hook up with these guys, and they're off to see the wizard because the old man knows an older man that has some knowledge about where the giant rock is going to be.
That's exactly what we need now is another old person.
Yeah,
well, how come that guy? Sorry, why is that guy not the old man? Well, why is the young man the old man, and the old man is not the old man?
No, but I have a theory based on watching my attention kind of tuned back into the movie at this point. Again, the idea is being shouted out. All right, we need a Ben Kenobi, but Ben Kenobi dies in the original. But that in Star Wars, that scene works still really well. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a Ben Kenobi, and we're going to kill him, and then we're going to have a Ben Kenobi replacement for him.
But they end up killing both of them.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, it doesn't. I'm not saying it makes sense, but again. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's just on
it's all derivative, better movies that have come before it. So, I'd say Citizen Kane.
True. And it had total. Also, I bet you $10 that the people involved with the production of this film were itching to get the rights to Lord of the Rings. Couldn't. It had total Lord of the Rings.
Of course it did. That's another thing. And so they go to where the old man is, and for some reason he's just this dude sitting on a chair, staring at a wall, and there's a small child standing beside him. Like, what the fuck's going on there?
They never explain.
And I'm like, what are they doing? Like, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And he's a blind old wizard, and a blind old space wizard who apparently likes the color green because everything's green.
He's got the vision.
But the vision of what?
The vision of where the he can see a day into the future, so he can tell you where the.
So he's just sitting there waiting for someone to ask him.
Well, no. My point is they need him because he can predict where the evil temple is.
I know where they need him, but what is he doing there? Like, why is he in his cave, sitting on a chair with his small child standing beside him? They're just standing there.
Because he's retired.
But where's the kid?
What else
where's the kid's mom? Like who feeds the kid? He can't feed the kid. The kid can't feed the kid because he's a kid.
Well, he's got magic.
Does the kid feed the wizard?
They eat
the
emeralds.
Space wizard, the green space wizard. like I don't know. Anyways,
It's also
who's
setting
blind? Yeah,
at this point too.
but he can see.
I know the irony.
The irony!
It
The
washed over me.
irony!
So they go get the old fart, and I'm just like, I don't give a shit about this guy. And now he's annoying because he
it's a total Lord of the Rings thing. They've got a ragtag bunch of
yeah, but they were already plenty ragtag. I don't know why they had to go and add a dumb kid and a lame old man.
Well, I like the old man because he looked cool. I think he looked cool.
I didn't think it looked
Again,
cool.
the Ben Kenobi ripoff. That's all it is.
And then
you needed the old.
And then here we come to the quicksand scene.
Okay, so now we get to the quicksand,
which is my favorite scene in the movie, actually.
It's
because I love growing up when I watched like Tarzan movies or movies that were set in Africa, and there's always they're traipsing through the jungle. There's always a quicksand scene.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
I was petrified of quicksand.
Me too. But this quicksand
there's
actually
memes
exists.
floating around on social media about this, but it's true.
I've never heard of
that fear.
I've never heard of
me
any.
too.
I've never heard of any. Me too. And I've never heard of anybody ever dying in quicksand.
Well, because you wouldn't, would you?
Unless it's in those old serials.
But
because you don't know. They're in the quicksand.
And there's always one person that has to die just to show the dire consequences.
Okay,
of quicksand.
and this is where I was thinking never-ending story because.
The horse in the quicksand.
Because the horse in the quicksand. Right. And I was like, oh, it's another scene like that where they're in this fucking goo and the guy's sinking. And as soon as I saw that the pubescent one was like far away, I'm like, oh, he's done for. I could just fast forward the scene because I know exactly what's going to happen. And guess what? I'm not really going to give a shit about this guy drowning. It's too bad because he's like a heroic teenager.
It's suffocated in the quicksand. Is that what we're talking about, the quicksand?
Aren't you drowning? Well, okay, it wasn't even quicksand. What it was the dark one, the Dark Lord, the evil,
he's
the asshole.
Mixing up the...
he just turned the ground into a ground that...
It was
they never say quicksand.
Was that the penultimate apex of his powers? He could turn the ground to quicksand and kill one guy.
Okay, Come on, man. It's like, when he first gets the weapon, what's it called again?
The KRULL?
The glaive.
Yeah, no one says you're reaching into the lava, but you know it's lava. That's quicksand, man. You don't have to label it quicksand for it to be
okay,
quicksand.
fine. So it's quicksand. Okay, maybe we should address what are the evil one's powers because sometimes he knows where they are.
and every now and then he can turn somebody else into like when the creepy space wizard guy gets actually that's a scene I really liked when he's sitting on the log where they're fighting the other guys. And his doppelganger comes in behind him.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great shot. That was actually really creepy.
I thought that was quite well done.
And because his eyes are black, he opens his eyes and they're black, and for whatever reason, that was creepy.
Oh yeah, it's another boring battle scene.
Terrible battle scene. Every fighting battle scene in this movie is the worst you've ever seen.
And the old man sits it out because
he's blind. Because
he's useless.
He's useless
and then
guy.
his exact doppelganger walks up behind him.
His fingers get long, and
his fingers turn to claws.
He either strangles them or I don't know what he does.
Something with those fingers.
This leads to the next thing the only thing I remember.
And he replaces him. So now the old seer is actually
a bad guy.
An evil doppelganger.
Yeah, creepy old space wizard.
So the Cyclops is now their friend. Have we established that yet?
Yeah, because I can't remember.
Okay,
he is or he isn't.
There's a second scene where
he is their friend.
Where Ergo sees some gooseberries and he gets very excited and he gets off his horse.
Well, who wouldn't?
Have you ever had them? They're disgusting. He's like, oh my god, gooseberries! And then he looks over and there's just one stormtrooper.
He's just standing there.
He's just standing there. Doing nothing.
He's not even threatening. He's just standing there.
He's like taking a leak.
He's asleep. He's asleep in his outfit.
Yeah, just like, and the Cyclops throws a big old spear and kills him, and then Ergo passes out because apparently that's hilarious.
Yes.
God, when someone faints, it's never funny.
No.
Like, stop doing that.
One, because it never happens.
Yeah.
And two, it's the worst thing you could ever do in movies. I hate that shit.
It just sucks.
It just sucks.
Wait, so now you know that the Cyclops is now their buddy. And so there's this big fight. They get caught in this quicksand, and the teenager drowns. We don't really need to go on too much about the quicksand.
For me, the moment that really made me laugh out loud about the quicksand was it looked like 70s variety comedy show quicksand. Like there's a sketch about quicksand.
Yeah,
but how he manages quicksand, if you even struggle the least amount, you'll sink. He actually somehow gets enough leverage to toss that heavy bag.
I know.
But it's like a heavy bag. That would be physically impossible to do.
His whole torso raises out of the quicksand.
Yeah. He would definitely.
And what does he even have? Like pots and pans?
Yeah, what is in that bag? They didn't even explain what's in the pot.
It's not like
pots and pans. It's to make dinner then.
Don't read my diary. I don't like. Yeah, why did he throw that fucking bag?
And how did he throw that? Yeah, and he actually gets like a bit of height.
He was standing on the corpses of those who had come before him and
maybe
perished in the quicksand.
No, he was standing on the corpse of the horse from the Never-Ending Story that actually died in real life. Yeah, if you were in the deep end, if you go down to Britannia swimming pool and you're in the deep end, and you
throw a bag of hockey gear,
can you throw a duffel bag?
There's a dead horse in there.
Sick, man. Like
there's a big battle scene.
No, there wasn't a big. There's never any big battle scene.
There's a
small battle.
They get attacked again.
Yeah, again.
And again with the swords hitting other swords and like sparks coming off it.
Shitty.
Because that's the only way they can make it even remotely exciting, even though it isn't exciting.
It's so slow, and all of a sudden they have horses. There's no explanation why they have horses. All of a sudden, everyone's on horseback. And then
I was getting such a Monty Python vibe.
Now the old Obi-Wan oldie Van Moldy.
And this is the scene I remember. He had to lead him to the trees, and he's walking with his hand on his shoulder. And then this is the knowledge you seek. And his fingers grow long. And then I think Cyclops is
he's trying to kill Johnny Haircut.
Right. And then
the Cyclops finds the corpse in the swamp.
Right. For some reason, it rises up for no reason, and then he runs like a madman, like through everything. Across water, through bushes.
Yeah, he's like the kid from the Incredibles.
Yeah, he's like a Dash, with one eye, and then he hucks his spear and kills the wizard.
So what's the fucking point, really?
I know. Well, the point was, I guess, they have to move on to another quest. That's the thing. It's all about quests, and they keep getting thwarted. So they have to move on to find the Widow of the Web.
The Widow. Yeah. Now, this is my favorite scene in the entire.
This is one of my favorite scenes too. I thought it was fantastic.
Would have been a great short film.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe I think I would have rather seen a movie about an old man who has to go and confront his ex, who happens to be in the middle of a giant spider web. Like that, to me, would have been a really interesting fantasy movie.
You know what movie should have been? The goddamn weapon is in that spider web. The whole first part of the movie should have been the young guy fighting his way to this goddamn spider web to retrieve that weapon.
But then we would have been deprived of the mountain climbing scenes.
No, you could have climbed the mountains, but you have to go beyond. This for me, again, is the conveyor belt feeling I got from this movie. I love Harryhausen. I want a spider web.
And I love that scene. But before we get to that, there was keep cutting back to the heroine. Apparently the giant lizard monster who runs the dark fortress wants to marry her. And,
even though she's like, that would be like you marrying like a gerbil.
Yes, exactly.
Because she's tiny and he's huge.
Every time they show him, it's like kind of a weird sort of camera angle. You never really get to see him. You see his eye. Yeah. And he says one thing to her. He says, "I'm my bride." And then there's a pause. He goes, "Think on it."
Does he actually say that?
I wrote it down. He says, "Think on it."
Think on it? You don't have to answer right now.
Yes.
I know.
Come on. Yeah, it'll work. Yeah, you don't have to kiss me or anything.
What are they doing while the old man's like, I'm going to go into this horrifying spider web?
He can only go by himself because he knows her. Because yes. This whole sequence was probably my favorite part of the movie.
I thought it was great.
He climbs in and there's this creepy looking giant white spider.
Oh, that's what makes it the creepiest, is that it's white. Yeah. You never see white.
This spider was way scarier than the one in the Lord of the Rings. Because I like the way it moved. It had that Ray Harryhausen sort of stop motion animation. When it went down, it did like a somersault and then spun a web and then went down. Yeah. And it was so creepy. And then it would shake the web to get him going, blah. I love that part. It was great.
I think in terms of actual drama, it worked better than anything else in the movie. So it's a woman who lives in the middle of the spider web that has a relationship with the old man.
Who's not that old. He has no gray in his beard or anything like that.
But in the 80s, he was old.
In 83, he was old?
I mean, in the 80s, he was considered old.
Because people only lived to 50 in the 80s? Is that why?
Exactly. I'm like, it's his ex-wife.
Yeah, well, that's who it was. His ex-wife was living in the spider web.
I have an ex-wife, and she doesn't live in the middle of it. She may as well.
How do you know?
She may as well live in the middle of the spider web.
How do you know she doesn't?
You don't think of the widow of the web as being... And by the way, if she's a widow, shouldn't he be dead?
Yes,
Like-
technically, he should be dead. Well, yeah. Then the thing is that when he finally makes it to the middle of the web, and they have a little chat, and she drops a fucking bomb on him. Oh, the reason I'm here is because we had a baby, but I killed it after it was born. And then he seems okay with it. He just wants to know like where the fucking spaceship is.
He basically begs her.
I wrote down, man's girlfriend seems okay with her killing baby.
I've been there.
So that was her penance, was to stay for some reason in the middle of a spider web.
And to
just be old. Like, where does she eat or go to the bathroom in there? There's no food.
And at this point, too, I thought to myself, like, why did they give him this important weapon within, like, the first 5 minutes? They should have saved the weapon thing until the friggin' spider...
Once again, it's...
And he left? Or?
It's studio heads.
There should be a few left.
Sweet.
All right, one each.
Who likes the IPA?
Darren does.
Darren likes the IPA, and Darren paid for the IPA.
Well, it's my favorite beer. If you guys want it, you can have it.
No.
Okay.
It's okay.
Oh, I can't drink.
Anyway, so he gets the information she needs, and apparently that's the end of her, because the spider.
Well, she sacrifices herself.
Yes. Yeah.
Does the spider at the end like somehow consume her? Like
it was attacking and ripping apart her little hovel.
Because
that's probably a welcome death.
The hourglass kept her safe,
right?
And she gave him the sand of the hourglass to give to the princess.
Well, no, he gave her the sand of the hourglass to get out. If he'd lost the sand, the spider would attack him, and if he lost the sand, when the sand ran out of his glove, he died. And so he kept it in his glove long enough to get back to the...
But it stops at, like, the exit. It stops at the exit.
No, because he ran all the way back, and then drained out of his hand, and he died. Then he died in front of all his buddies. You guys
I don't even remember that.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, I totally did.
All I remember is the spider can't go any further, and then it seems to crawl back and go to where she is.
Yeah, that's what happened. It attacked her.
And it's like the transformation scene. Again, it struck me as like they ran out of budget for the scene. Okay, we can't show her being consumed. Like, I wasn't sure.
Well, I think they left it to the imagination.
I think it's more budgetary.
I would have loved to see the spider consuming her. I would have loved to see that.
I made a note of this.
It would have been fucking horrible. Because a giant creepy spider.
I know it's supposed to be this very touching moment because she's like an old woman, and then she sees through his eyes. She's capable of seeing through other people's eyes. That's her power, and so she sees through his eyes how he sees her.
Well, she looked pretty good,
and she's this beautiful young woman.
Because he didn't see her in a long time.
But that's fucking hilarious. Is like, I know that's supposed to be really romantic, but it's kind of like, aren't men a bunch of dogs? Because he's just like, I just see you as this hot piece of 20-year-old ass.
You look terrible now.
Yeah, like he can't see her as like an old woman and find her beautiful. He has to see her as this 20-year-old piece of ass.
But he's an old man looking at her, so he should be an old man looking at her, seeing as they're still the same age.
It speaks volumes about the male ego.
It totally
where
does.
you're just like,
but in an unintentional way. It says more. It's not so much a meditation on male ego as much as a revelation about the producer who insisted that scene be put in.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I wonder if all the producers and executive producers were men.
So now the old man goes back and he drops dead.
And he tells them that he can find the giant floating castle, there's a huge plot hole right there, because before they go on the quest, they show the flying fortress moving from someplace to an Arctic scene, and it's cold. And then it's like days later, they're still in the Arctic, and then it moves to the final scene where they're going to find it. Yeah, so if it changes every morning, why is it still there? Unless this all happened in one day.
I didn't even notice.
No, I totally noticed that.
I've lost track at this point. At this point in the movie, especially
I was paying way too close attention.
It was just at this point, it's like, it wasn't why the things were happening. I was watching, okay, they're here now. They're in a spider web. They're in the desert. They're Arctic, wherever. But it had nothing to do with the whys or the explanations.
Yeah,
like the actor's dialogue at this point
ask too many
was
questions.
Not penetrating my brain. It just wasn't. My brain was just not accepting that. I was just watching it.
The brain was flatlining at that point.
Oh, at no point.
There's a floating corpse inside your mind, just like bobbing.
It was you and your corpse.
Maybe not floating corpse. It was just like at that point again the daydreaming thing. I just daydreamed a lot.
It never really. And again, this is why I say like everything I love about this movie is entirely aesthetic.
Yeah,
Script sucks. I didn't care about the characters.
No, the characters were. I didn't care about anybody in this movie.
But I like the performances. Unfortunately, the
I
actors.
didn't like any. The only thing I thought about the performances was that I couldn't believe how badly wasted Robbie Coltrane and Liam Neeson were. And I know it was early in their career, but that still says a lot.
Well,
those guys, I think the Bounty was out already. And Liam Neeson at least had a supporting role in that by then. It's like,
no, this was
just before the Bounty? I guess Bounty's 84, right?
I remember because I remember when Liam Neeson first shows up on the scene. He's one of the bad guys, one of the bandits in that scene where they kind of attack them.
Yeah.
And he has a really uncomfortable line reading his first reading. It's like, holy shit, he's terrible.
I noted that too.
But then he gets better as it goes along.
It's about like the
money
or the
money. He makes that little
that
money sign that when you rub your fingers together.
He was fine.
And no, I thought I was embarrassed for him. Maybe because I was paying attention to him because he's Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they weren't wasted because they weren't known then.
Well, true, they weren't known then. That's
and
true.
they were red shirts.
I thought Liam Neeson was really good in this movie.
No, of course. No, there's small starting roles, but I guess it just meant like
he would have been
more
way
about
better.
The way my brain was working at this point.
He would have been way better as what was the guy's King handsome hair? What was his name? Colwyn.
There's this weird scene where for some reason they're hanging out with women. I have to admit, I was making dinner and watching this at the same time.
No,
so I missed certain elements, and I was boiling potatoes, and I looked over, and all of a sudden they're hanging out with some chicks.
It's this supposedly funny scene where they find out because they explain out of the blue, like, we have no food and we're too tired to hunt. I think it's one of the lamest lines in the movie.
It's terrible.
He goes, he's like, sir, we have no
too
food
tired
and the men are too tired to hunt. It's like, you know what I mean?
And everyone's like walking around their shoulders.
So they actually say, well, there's like a village in this area. And then they make this attempted joke that Liam Neeson's like a bigamist married. Isn't one of your wives living near here? And apparently he does have a wife who lives near there.
Yeah.
So they go to her house.
Turn around and all of a sudden he's getting some action.
And he complains the joke is she's like, you're looking at this other woman that's staying with me. I took in this young woman. And he's like, no, I love only you. I'm totally faithful. And it's trying to be funny because you already know he's married to multiple women.
Yeah. Does the Cyclops throw like an axe to her back too? Is that what happens?
No, she decides not to go through with it. And she's like,
right.
You tried to make
that
me
was the worst special effect in the whole movie.
It was worse. And again, it's another one of those things that's so pointless because they set it up like, oh my God, he's going to be killed by this. And then she's like, no, I won't do it. And she dies. It's almost because again, that love conquers hate BS that's running through the movie.
But there was the scene when they didn't show her die, but it's like a star wipe. It's just like all of a sudden she just moves off the screen. Yeah. It's like the worst special effect. It's like Jerry Todd from
Jerry Todd.
It's called Jerry Todd.
The video,
Jerry Todd.
Rick Moranis.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening, there's old TV show in Canada called SCTV.
Oh, I'm sure the United States people have seen it.
And Rick Moranis played a character called Jerry Todd, and while you're looking up Jerry Todd, you got to look it up where he's singing the song "Turning Japanese."
It's not Jerry Todd. Though.
It isn't?
No. That's Jerry. It's Jerry Todd's show, but he appears on the Jerry Todd show, and Jerry Todd's pitching the ad. It's this like tour de force sketch.
Oh my God!
And it's called "On a New Wave" is the record. Right. But the character slips my mind. It's a lounge singer character.
I need to go back. I need to go home and watch every episode. So back to KRULL.
Back to KRULL.
Unfortunately,
so they've got the knowledge where
they need to get there.
The apartment complex from space is going to be.
Yeah, it's kind of like a council flat.
Yeah. They're not going to get there in time. They're going to be late because it's. I don't know.
Liam Neeson's too busy boning.
I don't know how much a league is, but it's a lot of leagues away.
It's at least 10.
It's several leagues away.
10 feet.
Yes, and so I guess the thing they're going to do, they're going to round up some special horses.
These we can't travel 12,000 leagues
on our regular horses.
And it's like
so let's get these
fire horses.
And the scene, this horse wrangling scene goes on for fucking ever.
Like everything else in this movie.
It's just like it's so long and it's like it's so not important. They're just like there's horses running and there's horses running and there's guys trying to get and then they finally get on the horses, which you just should have cut to.
Yeah.
And the horses are so fast that their feet set everything on fire.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. So they're just going to set everything. They're running through fields. And they're setting the fields on fire. They're going to kill all the animals in the fields.
Extremely irresponsible. Smokey the Bear is crying in the corner.
He's totally crying in the corner.
That's worse than flicking a cigarette butt out of your car.
Well, they were smoking as they're driving.
They're driving their horses. Again, yet another. I'm sorry, I know I keep flying this, but it's the conveyor belt moment of the movie for me. Again, Someone
need some
involved
horses.
in the movie wanted equal screen time for their fucking flaming horse fantasy. And it's like, Jesus.
I remember when I watched this, and then another thing that came back to me is it's like going to therapy, I guess, watching this movie. When I was watching it in the drive-in, I remember that scene, and I thought that was so cool. Look at they're going so fast. Everything's catching on fire. I thought that was awesome. It was just like an element I'd never seen before.
It's E.T., obviously, because they go into the sky, don't they?
They do. They leap across. I think I wrote down E.T. And I heard that they had the same music.
Yeah, I also remember me of Steve Miller, the flying horse.
Jones.
All right.
Steve Miller, the flying horse cover. It's like a Pegasus.
Wild horse.
Hey, again, the Chariots of Fire, the fucking
Chariots of Eggs.
No.
Can we just do an SCTV episode?
What is it? What's the
Chariots of Fire?
The other movie we've referred to earlier.
Citizen Kane.
No, with Laurence Olivier, the fantasy movie.
Lawrence of Arabia.
What?
Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
Oh my God! By the way, that was
Flying
adorable. Alex just made little hummingbird wing motion,
like Apu when he lost his mind in the.
Oh yeah, right.
Mart.
It was supposed to be Pegasus motion, but the way you imitated me just now made me think of Flipper Baby joke.
He was only a couple of Flipper babies. So they're flying, and I would not be surprised if E.T. was big. They were in the sky in E.T. Make sure everyone lines up in the sky.
Yeah, it was totally E.T.
Like, if you can have them go through the silhouette of the moon, that'd be really great too.
So they ride their flaming horses up to the complex, and then they have to start climbing it. And it's going to take off into space in like 8 seconds.
Yeah. They have like no time.
No time.
And even that takes too long.
Yeah. And then actually, the backtrack just a bit. The well-dressed Cyclops said he's going to die. And so he can't go on the flaming horse quest with them.
Yeah, so
he stays behind. Well, how's he going to die here? He's by himself.
He's seen the vision of his own death.
What was it? I was like, what's going to happen to him? Does he have a heart attack?
Well, Liam Neeson
cholesterol?
Liam Neeson says, well, if he knows he's going to die anyway, why doesn't he just come with us? Because if he does that, it's going to...
He's all full of pain and horror and misery.
He'll be unhappy when he dies.
The thing is, you're looking at where they left him. He's just sitting there in a field. What's going to kill him? Like, I don't know, boredom? And then so like
watching this movie, he'll die of boredom. Think about what
I almost died watching this movie.
The explanations, which is so, again, there's so much exposition in the film. Like, for Christ's sakes, like Star Wars doesn't explain, like, even the Force, at least, it gets explained to you, but it's so short and concise. The expository throughout this movie explaining every last bit of fantasy was. There's
a good bit of advice about filmmaking is don't tell, show.
Yeah, of course,
show
Rush
what's
wrote a
happening.
song called that.
They did? What's it called? The Trees?
It's called Show Don't Tell.
Oh, was it called 2112? Anyway, so they
climbing and climbing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the doors open on the thing, and there's the slow moving Lorax guys. I don't know what the Lorax were. They shoot their one beam and they hit a couple guys, and then the Cyclops shows up out of nowhere without a flaming horse.
Yeah,
how did he get there without a flaming horse?
Because he can run really fast across water.
And he holds the door open so they can all get into KRULL.
Yeah.
Or
the space mall,
the space mall,
yeah,
and which is empty for some reason. There's a very few.
Well, again, like, does anyone live here?
No.
Why is it all humans and the same animals we have on Earth, except they can shapeshift a little?
Yeah,
one in a million people on this planet can shapeshift.
He turns into a tiger, which tigers are pretty easy to shoot because he's just kind of walking. Why would you turn into a tiger? I turned into a shark.
So all of
I turned into a weapon.
Okay, so
yeah,
like a major weapon.
I think you can only turn into a tank. But you can only turn into a normal
turn into all right. Well, I guess just a limited amount of animals. He turns into a puppy at one point.
Because they were walking with the kid, and the kid says, "If the one thing you could wish for," and the kid says, "A puppy."
No, he says, why don't you want a million puppies? And then he turns into a puppy, and it's adorable.
That was a nice little scene.
Although I found that super creepy because I'm like, it's a middle-aged man in a puppy's body,
and he's rubbing his belly.
He's like licking the kid's face and shit. I'm like, that's not appropriate.
He was licking his balls at one point too, wasn't he?
They get to the hidden fortress, and there are three things happening. You have the hero, Johnny Haircut. He's going to find Kate Bush.
Right. who's being like tormented by the big creepy. I don't know what that. You could never really get a good look at that. Look at like a giant lizard bird or something.
Again, budgetary constraint. But by the way, I think
let's put some Vaseline on the lens.
Then most of the good guys are trapped in this weird spiky room.
Yeah, it's almost like the trash compactor from Star Wars.
Okay, so now I'm thinking,
and
Raiders
of
of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Spikes were so big in the 80s.
Oh, I know.
And let's not forget,
slow-moving spikes.
There is a scene in
Barfly?
Flash Gordon where Flash Gordon fights Timothy Dalton on this gyrating platform with spikes. And the third story is the kid and the shapeshifter are fighting some of these. So now the stormtroopers are wearing white armor.
Yeah, well, they must be the elite stormtroopers.
Yeah, like those red guys in the Emperor's chambers in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And so he turns into a tiger and they shoot him.
But the thing is, those guys they were as slow and as boring as terrible fighters as the other guys. So they had no special powers.
But all of this is happening at the same time.
He should turn into a shark.
So there's the spiky room and it's boring, and there's him turning into a tiger and
well,
it's boring.
The spiky room is so stupid because they escaped the spiky room, and then one guy dropped his knife, and he went, "Oh, I dropped my knife." So he goes back in, and then he gets impaled. Like it's so like
very slowly impaled.
Very slowly impaled. But then finally, good hair Johnny Haircut pulls out the KRULL.
Pulls out the glaive.
And finally used the whole movie waiting for him to use it. And the old man, who's not that old, said you can only use it when you know you're going to use it.
When you really need it.
But how does he know?
Use the Force, Luke.
Exactly. And so basically, it turns in just like a circular saw.
And basically, it's just a boomerang.
Well, it's really what reeked to me was ripping off the Ninja Throwing Star. I like Ninja Throwing Stars.
But it had the boomerang effect.
It had a boomerang effect, but
you have to be really careful catching that thing when it comes back because it's spinning.
So
it looks like a fidget spinner.
It does look like a fidget spinner.
Well, if they have spikes on them, I would buy them. It's like
switchblade. It's like a switchblade. It's like a ninja
movies of that era.
And the bad guy turns out to be this enormous, weird demon monster lizard thing. I thought Kraken from
Kraken from Clash of Titans.
Oh, no, I thought Tim Curry and Legend.
But Legend is like 3 years left.
It is, but again, they refined the idea.
He was a big devil. He was a great-looking devil now.
But they refined it. I feel he's a Darth Vader ripoff. Let's face it.
Really liked
down the fact that. Dark, like it's a ripoff.
I thought the villain in this movie.
He wasn't very scary.
No, but aesthetically, I really liked it when she was alone in that big old palace, and you just heard his voice.
Yeah. Like when they showed him,
it was like they were filming the reflection in a funhouse mirror.
That's exactly what it looked like. Exactly. I was trying to pinpoint what looked off about it, but that's exactly what it looked like.
Like a misshapen
reflection.
Yeah,
because they didn't have a good enough budget to make him look cool or big or something like that. I don't know.
So he uses the glaive, and the glaive basically it gets him in the back of the neck. It gets the monster in the back of the neck.
Well, he kills all the other guys that are coming at him. Why wasn't he using that earlier? Why was
because you can only use it when you really need it.
But I needed the whole fucking movie.
I know, that's the thing, right? Well, that was.
Yeah, like how many guys got killed because they didn't use the fucking glaive?
Again, there would have been so much more tension in the film if they had him retrieve that so far later in the goddamn movie. It was such wasted. They give it to him right away at the beginning.
And then not have him use it for like 2 hours later.
Yeah, and then you don't have him use it. It's like, again, the mishmash.
So, and then you think he's dead. And the
motherfucker
still isn't dead, so then they have to bind together with their marriage powers.
Yeah.
Again,
well, you're married, Darren. I'm sure you must feel empowered constantly.
That's how we start the fire at night. We just, with our love fire hands. Yeah.
And so then it gets. So they start really killing this fucking demon guy. And like everything else in this movie, everything takes longer than it has to. I swear to God, this is a 45-page script. Yeah. They just stretched everything out.
I was astounded to see it was actually 2 hours.
I imagine, again,
it was 1 hour and 57 minutes. That's how long this fucking movie is.
Ridiculous as it sounds, like the horror movie, we're going to throw in that, like, he's not quite dead yet. Again, Michael Myers. He's falling off the balcony, but we're going to have him get away. But we won't attack him.
So he's burning, right? So the demon is burning. I started laughing out loud. Because there's only so much. You're like, oh wow, and then it cuts to like Johnny
Oh,
haircut
I've-
and Kate Bush, and they're looking, and then it's back to the demon. They do it like 15 fucking times.
Have you ever been burned to death?
Not
it
yet.
It hurts. It hurts. Give that guy a little credit.
Not if you're a demon.
Well, he's huge. There's a lot of fire involved.
Well, it's love really that's killing him.
They didn't have an idea on how to finish it, and then someone spoke up in the room and go, "Hey guys, my fire idea from the beginning of the script, bring it."
Now the demon's dead, and I assume that like human beings, when we die in our home, the house falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to run out of it before it kills you.
There's a self-destruct button in everyone's home. As
They
soon
were
as
a
you die,
big fan of Carrie.
Yeah, when you
loved the
die,
fine
your
arts of
house
Carrie.
just explodes and kills everybody who's
yeah.
near you.
Well,
right?
for whatever reason, this house is getting sucked up into space.
They run away from the demon mall, space mall, and they turn around, and then it's crumbling, but it's getting sucked into space. Okay, that's an interesting effect. And I really did think it was an interesting effect.
I like the effect, especially when they showed it from far back, because you can see that the scene was like a mountains and meadow, and all this stuff was being. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, but it went on for like 5 fucking minutes.
Like everything in this goddamn
And then
movie
even when
went on
all
too
of
long.
the solid bits are gone, they keep cutting to like the lovey-dovey couple looking,
they're all
and then it's the smoke and the dust going up. And I'm like, for fuck's sake! And then after the smoke and dust, it sparks. It's like spark. I'm like,
what else is there?
Anything else? The plumbing, maybe? Like, what have I not seen? I get it. The bad guy is gone.
I wonder what kind of plumbing they'd have in that thing, because it's a pretty big building. It's kind of weird looking. So
it is.
All the surviving members of the troop are laying in a field. They're just laying in a field, watching everything happen, and like they're just laying in a field. Aren't they worried about bees and stuff? They're like, all the flowers. Like there's bees all over the place.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
Snakes.
Would it not be amazing if the princess
Fire ants?
is like deathly allergic to bee stings?
Yeah,
and
the
at
bee
that
stung her
moment
and-
gets stung by a bee, and she says no EpiPen, and she's like, I left my EpiPen in the space mall.
No. Hey, haircut, can you go back and get that for me?
And then that is how it ends.
Well, it's funny because
they walk off into the distance.
They walk into and it's a freeze frame.
And he appoints
it's a freeze frame,
that,
and then the credits come up.
He appoints that head of the bandits to be his new.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
His sergeant at arms.
He takes
whatever.
off the shackles.
And then she's pregnant or something, and then
they mention your son.
They imply, and then
their son.
It totally sets it up for KRULL too.
Yeah, and their son will rule the galaxy, and that's when like Donald Trump steps in the frame. And
wait a minute, but when did they bone?
That's the thing. They didn't.
Well, they go on to bone in part 2. It's kind of like Matrix.
How is she pregnant?
Well, because
you don't see the bone until Matrix 2. Well, she's not pregnant yet.
Well, they're talking about. I think KRULL 2 is more like a sex romp.
KRULLs.
The KRULLs.
It's KRULL 2. TOO.
And then KRULL 2, because it's a sex comedy. The second O is a tongue. Think about that. Think about the poster. I think I just nailed it right there.
You did.
KRULL 2.
Anyways, the movie's over.
Oh,
let's give out.
So and one final point that I made note of.
Dylan has one final point.
The special effects, which I thought were like
fucking terrible.
No, actually, I thought for the most part they were really good. There's a couple of moments where
there's some really terrible
me,
special
but
effects.
I loved all the spider stuff.
When they were on those flaming horses when they're running, it looked like they were cut out like with an exact.
Okay, yeah, that was awful.
Looks like I did it.
Do you know how they did that? By the way, for real, they got the horses to run on treadmills.
Yeah, that technique was also used in Marnie.
And then they just
like Fred Flintstone. No, it was like a blue screen. Sorry, was that Alex?
Marnie used that technique as well.
Who's Marnie?
In the movie Marnie?
Oh, right.
It's not a very good Hitchcock, but still, no, I'm aware of that technique. Yeah, but it looked like shit.
The special effects were done by
wasn't Douglas Trumbull? Was it?
His name escapes me, but it's Superman. He won an Academy Award
for Superman.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I wonder if that movie holds up because
and the TV series Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds with those the little puppet guys.
The puppets.
I love the fucking Thunderbirds.
Oh my god,
man, that was the best thing ever.
I've got one where they accidentally knocked down the Empire State Building, and it is so 9/11. But yeah, so
final judgment.
Does it hold up, Alex?
I was bored out of my mind. It made no sense, and. I mean, again, like I don't know really what I could add to. No, I didn't like it at all.
Okay. Darren, does it hold up?
No, it does not hold up. There are elements that I liked about it, but overall, I kept checking the time. I thought it was a crashing bore. it didn't know if it wanted to be like a serious space, I don't know, space science fiction odyssey or like a campy fun thing. I thought it fell on both accounts. It was too long, too many terrible long scenes. No, it didn't hold up at all.
So.
Yeah.
And man, it's just that too. I mean, as for the hold up thing, like I hadn't even seen this film before. Watching this film, I totally understood 1,000% why it's A, mostly forgotten, and B, why it was a major flop.
Well, the thing is, I loved it at the time.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool. You know, it was fun. You know, well, the thing is, like this is like what 1982 is what, like 50 years ago.
Yeah,
50 years ago.
50 years ago.
Things have changed in movies a lot since then, and you know, I think our expectations may be a little higher. When it comes to special effects. And stuff,
taking into account. Well, yeah, I'm not even sure special effects have gotten better because I think they kind of plateaued in the late 80s.
But the thing is that the best special effect in the movie was the spider.
Absolutely.
And it was old school. It was Ray Harryhausen old school, which I love because I grew up on that. And I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I still love it. Anything that has that stop motion animation, I'll take that over CGI or anything any day.
I think this way.
Any
You know
sensible
what?
person would.
I'm jumping in again.
Yeah.
That was by far like the best scene in the movie. I'm agreeing with you. Like the Dark Lord was so anticlimactic after. It should have been the goddamn Dark Lord with the weapon in the center of that thing.
Yeah.
With the spider. Like that scene was so intense.
Oh, it was far from perfect. Well, no. But I am going to say, I think it holds up.
Oh, cool.
In fact, I was surprised because I went into this thing. I remember, Alex, you because we got the one copy of KRULL here at Black Dog Video on Commercial Drive at the corner of Grant, open from noon till 10.
It's also on Canby Street.
And also on Canby.
Don't
but they're not doing a podcast, so fuck them.
Don't forget to give Canby some love. They're good kids over there.
Because Alex, you returned this thing because Darren watched it a couple days
ago. I watched it last night.
Last night, Alex, you picked it up, and I remember you literally stormed into the shop, and you're like, I finished watching KRULL. Thank God. And I was like,
he texted me saying that too.
And I was like, all right, like, I don't know. Yeah. And I remember, because I have it on VHS, but I've never watched it. And I saw it on TV like years ago. And I remember like not paying much attention. So I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. And so I was expecting pretty shitty. Mm-hmm. And what I got was actually,
it's good to go with low
expectations. It's far more artistic than I thought it was going to be. I love the set design. I love the costumes. I thought I don't think like all of the actors gave it their all, even though what they were giving was schlock.
Yeah.
It was too long. The music was
problem.
good. If it was 90 minutes, it would have been a lot better. But ultimately, it was. I think it just barely scrapes by as it holds up.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I am the minority at this table.
1, 4, and 2 against. That's okay.
It's a chore for me to get through, and I know I keep citing the daydreaming. I'm telling you that's rare, and that's a really bad sign when it happens to me. I love it. I lock into even shittier movies. This movie just didn't hold me at all.
Okay, so
the whole time.
So you're at Black Dog Video. You're working your shift. Yeah. Someone comes in. It's 2 for $1 Monday.
Mm-hmm.
They pick up KRULL.
Right.
You guys would be like, all right, you might like it. I would enthusiastically say, I think you're really gonna like this movie.
Right.
But it's 2 for $1. They don't know. What is the other movie that you recommend that they watch alongside KRULL?
I'm gonna recommend. Excuse me. It's not quite. Similar to KRULL, but it's a movie called Wise Blood by John Huston, which I watched recently and fucking loved. It's a crazy 70s movie about a street preacher who loses his mind when he comes home from Vietnam and is displaced and just goes on an adventure, and it's amazing. It's one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. I can't believe it took me like 30 years to watch it.
Wise Blood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with KRULL. I just want to plug Wise Blood because I thought it was amazing. And it's written by a Flannery O'Connor, I believe,
right,
who's an amazing playwright. She's just the script is amazing. If I could put a top 10 of the year, including old films, it'd be my number 1 film.
No shit.
Loved it.
Wise Blood. Okay. So
I love the fuck out of it.
Love the fuck out of that fucking movie. Alex, what would a nice complimentary film to KRULL be? Even though you hated this movie.
You're kidding me, right?
I don't know.
Call.
Fuck off. Of course.
But we don't have Call.
I'm going to find Call. Based on this conversation, I'm going to find Call.
You find this Call.
I'm willing to bet. Yeah, I'm on this kind of quest. I'm going to dodge boulders. I'm going to fight giant spiders. I'm going to bring to the store a copy of Call.
Starring Kevin Sorbo.
I have no intention of watching Call, but I want you, the renter, to rent Call and get back to me on
tell me how terrible it is.
And report to me how similar the two are.
My pick would be I mentioned it earlier, another super camp movie.
Citizen Kane?
That's right. That's right. Glaive. What was the glaive?
It was his favorite toy growing up. It was his favorite spiky toy growing up.
Shreddies.
He used to throw it into the other kids' jugulars when he was a child.
Yeah, he was a little... Well, no, he was nice. Citizen Kane was...
Citizen Kane was a way better movie if he had the glaive. Can you imagine
this movie would have been...
You would have to call it Citizen Glaive.
This movie would have been way better if it were instead of the King, it were Michael Jackson, he were going after the glove.
The
83.
Not bad. For pairing it with Krull, I've got to go with Flash Gordon because it's equal amounts camp. There's spikes. There's good. It's actually what this movie should have been.
Right.
Less self-aware.
We hit the nail on the nose right there.
The nail on the nose.
Yes.
Put a nail up your nose.
Too self-aware. It was trying too hard.
It's taking itself too seriously.
Yeah.
So I would recommend after you watch Krull, watch
would you
Flash Gordon.
Would you go with the one with the Queen soundtrack?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, 1980. Because it's so...
Well, I guess it has a Queen soundtrack.
It's just and Timothy Dalton is in it. I just love anything that the T-Dalt is in.
T-Dalt, cool.
So that brings us...
Let's wrap it up.
Goodness, it's been...
I think this is like our first 3-hour
1
podcast.
1 hour and 25 minutes.
Well, that's short for us.
It's good average, actually.
Yeah.
Come visit us at Black Dog Video, Commercial Drive at Grant. Also,
Canby
Canby
Street
at 19th.
Yeah.
And we'll be at the Dime for the next 20 minutes.